The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order! The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Ryan, the Nightmare on Film Street, Luis Rodriguez presiding. We all rise for the Honorable Judge Rodriguez.
Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice, Hell on Reels. Today we are hearing the case of the people versus Freddy versus Jason, that's complicated, a 2003 horror movie about dream demon Freddy Krueger who recruits the services of Crystal Lake's resident slasher Jason Voorhees in an effort to reinstill fear in the people of Springwood. For those of you unfamiliar with our spooky court proceedings, if the accused is found guilty of being a bad movie, it shall be cast for all eternity into the fiery pits of movie hell, upon which this courthouse just so happens to be built.
Well, that's convenient.
Mr. J.D. Ryznar, you are appearing on behalf of the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Now, if you're looking at this movie and going, did Freddy fight Jason? You know, you're going to be correct. They did not necessarily let us down there. The premise of Freddy fighting Jason is strong. I'm not going to argue against that. It was well earned and very satisfying. They used all of their cliches against each other, and everybody died at the end. But when you do that part of the movie so well, why scrimp on the human story? Films were brought before us by our fellow man to look into each other's souls and see truth. This movie has no human truth. Not a scant amount. You watch this movie, you will be bored to tears anytime there's two people on screen that are not Freddy or Jason. I would argue that a little more time developing the human characters and making sure they made sense might have made this movie tolerable. But no, this movie is a difficult watch. I rest my opening statement.
He's good at this.
Thank you, Mr. Ryznar. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Mr. Dylan J. Schlender. Please present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, Godzilla versus King Kong, and then finally, the peak, Freddy versus Jason. 2003 saw a dream realized, the two most iconic horror icons of the 80s meeting face to mask for a no-holds-barred fight. In this case, I largely want to focus on how and why this movie works. It delivers on its concept, and it is very faithful to both franchises. A delight of these franchises are their ability to try new things. For example, Jason Goes to Hell attempted to add much deeper lore to Jason's condition. Wes Craven's New Nightmare was an interesting meta movie, and this movie continues to step in that new direction with this meetup, with this clash, and with this well-realized story. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. I'm glad our icons are iconic. Prosecution, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
Exhibit A is the relationship between Jason Ritter and his little friend. Jason Ritter played Will Rollins. I forgot his little friend's name. Anybody in the jury can help? But he was a balding man of 18 to 24, and he was his little friend, and they were together in an insane asylum. It seemed all good, but all you were thinking is, why are these guys in this insane asylum? And they explained it away. Sure, they explained it away. Of course they did. They knew about Freddy, so they put him away so Freddy wouldn't be... Blah, blah, blah. You're just too distracted by the fact that these two perfectly normal boys are in the asylum. That's Exhibit A. And the acting is shitty throughout the entire movie.
Well, hold on a minute. I got to object.
To respond to any of that?
The reason they're in the insane asylum actually works very well because the town realized that Freddy feeds off fear, and if no one remembers Freddy, if the people who do remember Freddy can't dream about him, they effectively have him contained. And that plan worked, and it involved putting this balding young man, as you said,
his name's Mark.
Put Mark into the insane asylum with Will Rollins, and they gave them the hypnosil, which we saw in previous Freddy movies, so it was a nice tie back. So I think it works, and I don't think it's too distracting to see them in an asylum. We've seen asylums in Dream Warriors, the third Freddy movie, so I think it works.
Prosecution, you may present your next exhibit.
Freddy Krueger is not scary. That's Exhibit 2. There's absolutely nothing.
Got a lot to criticize with this one, Defense.
There is nothing scary at all about this clown. He's chewing the walls like he's in an improv class. His burns don't look real. Who is a child killer? That didn't exist. Nobody's a child killer. They're child worse things that then happen to kill the child afterwards. And so he's not scary. He's not a real villain. There's nothing cool about Freddy Krueger. Nothing scary. I'm not scared. Also, Jason's not scary. Yes, he is. He's very scary. You can't. There's no way to escape Jason. Look out! But come on, Freddy Krueger. Oh, look out! I'm gonna get you, bitch. We've been hearing that since 1985.
Well, I think that what is interesting about Freddy is that the lack of fear is why he goes away, and that's why he ends up waking up Jason. And I agree. I think Jason is more effective in this movie than Freddy. He has a much higher body count than Freddy does in this movie, but I think it's a neat intermingling of their legends. So Freddy waking Jason up, Jason killing the people. Then what I really like is that the sheriff's department, they're right. They know Freddy's behind it. It's a very interesting twist in a horror movie. You actually have everyone acting pretty competently and pretty rationally about fighting a supernatural dream demon.
And is Freddy Krueger scary?
Look, he's in this movie, he's not as effective because he's not strong yet. Like when he does the whole shadow stab and he's not strong enough, and he turns into a worm to get into Jason Mewes' body for some reason.
That wasn't Jason Mewes.
I'm almost positive that was Jason Mewes.
It wasn't, but I could get why you would think it would be.
Anywho, so Freddy, I think, is played a bit more for laughs. This is Robert Englund's last performance as Freddy on a feature film, and like my esteemed counselor here said, he's really chewing the scenery, just having a lot of fun with it because he knows it's his last hurrah. It's like when you go to a concert and they say like, well, this is our last show, so we're playing one for us, and they'll just like squeedly noodly on the guitar for like 15 minutes, and you're like, okay, move on, and that's kind of what Freddy's doing in this basically. Yeah, exactly, so there you go.
But how can one say a movie is good when a performance is blown like that? You could say, oh, it's a grand finale, they're noodling on. Nobody wants to watch a 15-minute guitar noodle. Nobody. Nobody. And you just argued against this being a good movie, my good friend.
Well, no, what I think I did, JD, is just point out that Freddy doesn't have to be particularly scary in this movie to be effective to drive this movie forward. I think that's what makes this movie so interesting, is that Freddy wakes up Jason, and it's Jason who's scary in this, who's doing all the heavy lifting, as it were. And then you do get the cool fights between Freddy and Jason. And while Freddy is fighting Jason, obviously the physical mismatch is a bit jarring, but with Freddy's magic powers of like moving him around and throwing him around, it's a pretty interesting and fair fight.
Yeah, and I can explain that Jeffrey Dahmer saw some delicious-looking young boys and ate them because they look delicious.
Oh, no.
But he still is a murderer.
Oh, that's true. And Freddy's still a murderer. I mean, I think we all want Freddy to lose, and he kind of does.
All I'm saying is you can explain away why Freddy does this or that. Still a bad movie.
Well, I think the movie gets to a minimum of not bad. I think it does get all the way to good. And I do think Robert Englund's having a bit more fun with the Freddy performance is a factor there. We'll probably just have to let the jury decide on
So is it
Freddy's
a better
credibility.
performance than the one he gives on the Goldbergs?
I would say so, yes.
Interesting.
Because it helps my case. I'm not familiar with the Goldberg thing, but I have no problem lying.
I'm glad you
Good,
admitted
because you're
that.
wrong.
Prosecution, you may proceed with your next exhibit.
My next exhibit is I don't have it. I rest my case.
That was a
Get in
big
and get out.
switch that I fell for. Defense, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. So basically, there's two questions we ask when we start watching this movie, right? Like, what are we looking at, and what should be the expectation? And I think the answers to these questions are respectively the culmination of years of ideas and wish casting, and then the expectation should be for something fans will really enjoy and that audience broadly will enjoy. As a personal example, I had only, in both franchises, I had only seen Friday the 13th Part 1 and Jason X. I'd seen no Freddy Krueger movies when I saw this in theaters in 2003, and I found it to be very enjoyable. I mean, these guys are bigger than their movies. Everyone knows who Freddy is. Everyone knows who Jason is. And so when you bring them together, it's beyond just even being a fanboy of them. These are actual cultural icons that you get to see. So even if this is your first movie for either of these characters, I think you'll do fine. And so dovetailing into that is the formula of expectations. At the end of the day, what do we want from a slasher movie, even when we have double the slashers? We want to see the heroes overcoming incredible odds, but with plenty of time to shower and skinny dip, of course.
Yes.
We want our villains to score gruesome kills. I mean, quadruple check on that one. And we want a little room for more. And we get that in the last scene with Freddy winking at the camera. It's like, oh, is there going to be a Freddy versus Jason 2 or the series going to spin off from here? So we get the movie following the formula that absolutely works. But we get that added benefit of the villains working together and then ultimately against each other. We get to see the battle of Jason in the dream world versus Freddy, and then Freddy gets pulled out of the dream world and they have to fight in the real world in more Jason's domain. And both fights work very well, and they're a lot of fun, and it's what we came to see, and it really lands.
Prosecution, you've made no secret about your distaste for this movie. Would you say that it at least achieves what it's setting out to achieve?
Did you listen to my opening statement? I stated that very clearly. Very clearly, Your Honor. Now, I'm a little worried the jury's not paying attention
to get
either.
hostile, sir.
Okay, fine, okay.
Defense, you may proceed with your next exhibit.
All right. And so talking about what to expect and what we're looking at, then you really focus in on what matters. And I wanted to talk about Robert Englund again, which I kind of already touched on. He really owns the character of Freddy. Not legally, of course. Maybe we can find in favor of him ruling, a ruling in favor of him owning Freddy from now on. But anyway,
I just heard New Line Cinema's lawyers, and they said, no, we can't.
Well, we tried.
Oh.
So anyway, he has the mannerisms, the movement, the voice. It's all down. It's all Robert Englund. And obviously, like I said, this is his last feature film as Freddy, which turns out to be a pretty good send-off, especially when you consider how bad the 2010 remake of Nightmare was. If you'd like for more info on how bad that was, listen to episode 67 of the Disc Dump podcast, where our own Ryan Luis Rodriguez takes that movie down.
Oh, no, don't listen to that. Don't, no.
Nope, it's out there.
Okay.
So, moving on from Freddy, which is basically Robert Englund, he just works, we move on to Jason. Now, there was some controversy about not casting Kane Hodder, who had played Jason in 7, 8, 9, and 10. But here's the problem with Kane Hodder. He's painfully short. He's just not menacing at a mere 6'2". This Jason is large and menacing. He's as big as a door, and he's as tall as reported to be 6'5". This made him seem to be a much more unstoppable juggernaut. He stood up next to Freddy very well, the way the diminutive Kane Hodder simply would not. And then one of the things that the prosecution brought up was the teenagers in this movie, kind of like this silly human element. And of course, the human element in these movies is always going to be hit or miss. You know, the women tend to be, the women and men actually tend to be just cast based on how attractive they are, how well they look with their shirts off, things of that nature. You know, they're not really hired for their acting chops. I mean, Friday the 13th Part 1, we got to see like a young Kevin Bacon, but he doesn't do so much. He kind of just gets stabbed. They all kind of get stabbed. That's really what they're there for. They're cattle. But what I liked about the teenagers in this is it kind of did a good job of capturing them being stupid. Like when you yell, "Why would you do that? That's so stupid." And then later the character's like, "Oh my God, why did I say that to them? That was so stupid." You know, so it's like, well, at least they're aware that they're acting like dumb teenagers. And then something I pointed out before, which I really liked, was the reaction from the adults is pretty much spot on. I mean, they know Freddy is a dream demon. They do correctly suspect that he's behind the murders. Now, obviously, they don't know about Jason's hand in it, and that's why you have Deputy Stubbs. Basically, he's in the movie just to say, hey, what if Jason is involved? And then he's pretty much promptly killed once everyone realizes Jason's involved. But again, you know, he's a young, good-looking guy. He was there to prove a point. He gets killed. What I like, though, is that it maintains the legacy and lore of those older films. And it's refreshing in these kind of movies to see a lived-in world where the consequences of the previous film make a meaningful impact. You know, like, so they know Freddy is a dream demon, and they do the logical steps you would take to fight a dream demon, you know? So I would say one of the biggest strengths of this movie is how grounded in realism it is.
I would just like to say my favorite line in the movie is when one of the characters, when they're brainstorming, goes, Freddy died from fire and Jason died from water. Maybe we can do something with that.
Yeah.
That was a real quote from the screenwriter.
Yeah. That was a note on the side of the script that made it into the movie. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's one of the problems that comes up with this movie is like, why is Jason afraid of water, you know, but to kind of cut that point off at the pass, he's not so much afraid of water, but he's in the dream world and the water comes out and he's like, whoa, what the heck's going on? And then he basically becomes a child again. Child Jason, horrified of water. When he's out of the dream world and he's super suit Jason, not afraid of the water anymore. Makes perfect sense.
Defense, do you have any further exhibits?
I'm feeling pretty good about the nature of the case there, so I can rest there, Your Honor.
I feel pretty good about the nature of the case.
Hey, I don't sound like that. What the heck? Yeah.
Nailed him. Nailed it.
Both sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Ryznar, please present your closing argument.
Webster's dictionary defines film. Hold on, let me look it up.
Oh, no.
Hold on.
That's not Freddy versus Jason.
Hold on. I'm gonna look it up. Meanwhile, Jerry, I want you to think about your worst nightmare, and did anybody ever die from your nightmare? Just think about that for a second. Well, Google film definition.
Make sure it's Webster's, though.
I don't know.
We're not going to tolerate Miriam.
We are scoring points here.
Oxford Languages defines film as a thin, flexible strip of plastic or other material coated with light-sensitive emulsion for exposure in a camera used to produce photographs or motion pictures. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we know we all watch this on a streaming service. We know you're not gonna see a 35 millimeter print of Freddy versus Jason anywhere but some fancy schmancy Los Angeles theater, and maybe fancy New York City has some, perhaps Austin, Texas. I don't know. But listen, this is no film, okay? This is a bunch of bleeps and bloops on a computer with a bunch of crap on the bleeps and bloops. Come on, people. If you say this is a good film, you don't even know what a film is. I rest my case.
Thank you. Mr. Schlender, please present your closing argument.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. And I do actually own this on 35 millimeter. And
liar.
I wear my sweater vest with the leather patches and my beret, and I stream it for all of my hipster friends. We have a cracking time doing it. For my closing argument, basically, I would just like to remind the jury that we were asked a very simple question. Do you want to see Freddy and Jason fight? And the answer, of course, was yes. And this movie delivers, and it does it in a pretty clever way. If a lot of the early script ideas were really bad, that like Jason might have been a victim of Freddy's, or he might have been Freddy's son, but they kept it very simple. They said Freddy needs Jason to scare people into believing in him again. Jason loses control. Freddy tries to kill Jason. It's a wonderful fight. It delivers on all the action and everything you want in a slasher movie. I mean, if you like any slasher movie, you should like this one. It has it all. It has it all. And I just want to thank you all for your time today. And that is my closing argument.
Thank you both. Members of the jury, Mr. Rob Maynard, Mr. Big Ben Hassler, Mr. Ryan Goes to Hell, Luis Rodriguez. Fuck you, Rob. You have all heard the case. You've all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
That reminds me, those Hackett Studio execs never wrote me back about the Bailiff versus Freddy versus Jason script I sent in.
Damn you, bailiff.
He writes a lot of scripts for a bailiff.
He does.
All right. Interesting case here. One side came with a whole lot of passion and really hated this movie. Ben, what were your thoughts on the movie?
Well, the big question for me is, did it hit the marks that it was attempting to hit? And I think from that perspective, it does. It opens up with a naked girl doing the whole slasher thing. I mean, that's pretty much like the tent poles of what people expect from these things. But then as it progresses, it does all the things that I also hate about slashers. Like okay, if Freddy can go into Jason's dream, what stops him from going to anyone else's dream to like drum up his legend? If he can like go into like the adult who like murders his wife's dream, why can't he go into anyone else's dream? I don't know that he needed Jason to do anything.
Interesting. Ryan?
Yeah, so my feeling about Freddy vs. Jason kind of dials down to how I feel about the Friday the 13th movies altogether, which is that I'm not angry enough to care. I really, I don't give a shit about any of these characters. Like Freddy, he has 3 movies that I enjoy, but I have no strong opinions either way. But like Jason, I barely recognize him as a character, so to think that I would have to care about who wins a fight, I don't know, that's a little too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like these movies, but they are, especially Friday the 13th, I mean, they're turn your brain off. And that's what they're enjoyable for. And I've seen all the Friday the 13th, and in this one, at
I'm
least
sorry.
there's a lot
Yeah,
of
I'm sorry,
violence. But like all the kills in this one is great, and that's what I'm looking for a lot of times in these
They're
slashers.
CGI kills, though. It's got CGI blood and stuff. That takes me out of the movie every time I see that.
I mean, some of them, but some of them are still more realistic and practical.
Yes,
Some of them
realistic
definitely
is
are.
the right word.
No, practical is what I mean, Ryan.
There you go. That's better.
Practical. You go to hell.
Clearly, I already did
it's like
based
Ryan
on my
goes to
nickname.
hell. Yeah.
Fuck you.
It's a movie. It's Jason Goes to Hell. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about the human element. They're always kind of weak in these movies. They're largely just there to get murdered. And most of these
Especially
people,
in the sequels of these, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
But is that okay? Since the other movies are bad, then this one has permission to be bad.
But I
too?
think all the humans are tertiary. Like the star of this movie is Freddy Krueger. And although the prosecution did not like Englund's performance, I do.
England.
Sure, England, whatever. You say it right. But I liked the performance. I think Freddy's very charismatic. He's the one who's interesting. He's the one who's engaging. If there's a weakness here, it's that Jason is just kind of a non-personality, right? I mean, he's just a juggernaut that
Which you
crushes
could say
things.
about any of these movies is that he's a non-entity.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He's a force of nature. He's not like a character. He's like this force
He's a
that lurks
cipher.
around.
Well,
We have to
yeah.
put in our own fears into him because he doesn't generate any of that stuff on his own.
Yeah, he's the obstacle for our actual protagonists to need to get around, usually. And in many ways, I guess he's the obstacle that Freddy needs to get around in this. But what I like about this movie is it really is a blend of the two franchises. It takes a lot of the tropes and elements from both and combines them. And especially when I look at a lot of these versus movies, right? Batman versus Superman, right? The new
Great
Godzilla
movie.
versus Kong.
Not so great.
They fight a little bit, but not as much as you wanted, and then they always team up. And I'll say one thing, there's no team up here. Freddy and Jason really fight, and it's the climax of the movie, and you leave satisfied. And obviously, there's no winner really declared. I'm not sure that anything else could be decided. Which way are you guys leaning, Ryan? Which way are you leaning?
I'm leaning towards guilty. Like I'm trying. I'm scanning my brain for something nice to say about this movie, and all I could come up with was that it's less than 100 minutes long. So that's not a good thing.
Mercifully short raves, Luis Rodriguez.
I could watch it while I was doing work. There you go. That's not really a recommendation.
I actually do think that's a recommendation. I love movies I can watch in the background.
Oh, I don't. I need to be active. I can't be sitting there going, yeah, that happened. Oh, yeah, he died? Oh, that's a shame. Ben, what are you doing?
Done. All right, so
I don't know. It does hit its marks. It does combine the two in the way in a believable way for these two franchises. So that was good, and we do get the fight. That was good. The characters are just they look good in tight jeans. That's it. There's nothing there. The bad CGI is all over the place, and there's plot holes. I'm 50-50 on it. And I guess
don't you vote
just
not
based.
guilty. Don't you fucking vote not guilty.
Hey,
Ben.
he said 50-50. You know what that means.
You didn't even
Oh
vote yet.
God, I know where this is going. Shit. Shit.
Oh, hello, it's me, coffee delivery man to jury room.
Hey, it's the coffee we ordered.
Copy guy.
Listen, on the fence guy, I got $100 bill. It's me, the prosecutor. I got $100 bill in my pocket. Okay, just saying.
No one has ever tried this before.
Okay, enjoy your coffees. Bye-bye.
Guilty.
What? Good.
Just because he bribed you?
That's all it takes, baby. You know
God
the legal
bless you,
system
Ben.
works. How are you just
God
figuring
bless
this
you,
out?
Ben. Thank you,
Pretty
coffee
good.
guy. Thank you so
there
much.
you go. I'm not going to do it because even though I was bribed, it won't matter for me. I will say not guilty. This isn't Casablanca. It's not Citizen Kane. It's a horror movie. I turned it on to watch people get ripped apart. And I think it's an entertaining movie, but it won't matter. It's the verdict will be guilty. So let's get out there and deliver it to that very handsome judge.
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor, in the case of The People versus Freddy versus Jason, I don't like The People's odds, we find the defendant guilty of being a bad movie.
Thank you. I'm shaking hands with the movie.
Can I get $100 too?
Wait, no, I'm not shaking hands with the movie because never mind. I'm the prosecutor.
Yeah.
I'm not even the judge and walking out. I'm going to go home and kiss my wife.
We did it, honey.
The verdict is so rendered. I hereby sentence Freddy vs. Jason to 20 more years in unsatisfying crossover purgatory.
Actually, we have to cast the movie into hell. Right? The movie's guilty. We have to. It's not, but we have to cast it into hell anyway. So
okay,
off to movie hell.
Okay,
off
there you
to
go,
movie hell.
Okay. Oh my God.
Oh, that's the movie screaming?
Yeah.
Court is adjourned.
This is Frederick J. Voorhees, no relation, reporting to you live outside the Reels of Justice. Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, would you give your thoughts on today's verdict?
I gotta say, Freddy, I'm shocked, but oh my God, that coffee that woman gave me, it's not sitting well. I gotta go. I'll see you outside the studio. Oh God.
Oh, that's a shame, that. And here comes J.D. Ryznar. Excuse me, would you happen to give a thought on your feelings of today's verdict?
Yeah, I'm really happy that we won because honestly, when I emailed the court to tell them I would be prosecuting the movie, I'd only watched like 20 minutes of it. And then as it went on, I'm like, oh, this really fulfills its promise. This is actually pretty good and entertaining. And so... but the DA is my boss, and he really wanted it prosecuted, so I had to do my job. Clearly, I didn't do much homework, but I got some tricks up my sleeve. So we got the verdict that'll help me get promoted.
Sounds very good. And now let's go to the courthouse for a post-trial analysis.
Damn, the first time bribery's entered into the court.
I know. You know what, though? I'm really not going to lose sleep over us finding Freddy versus Jason guilty, though. I mean,
what a tragedy.
I can live with that.
Ever done.
You're going to ruffle some feathers, but I mean, I mean, if you just hate all these movies, then
this doesn't do anything different.
I haven't seen the sequels, as many of them anyway. I've seen like the number 2 of each one, and that's about it.
It's like this. Well, okay, you should for Friday the 13th. You probably should see 3 and 4.
But 20 years ago, I watched them all. I forced myself to watch them all. Finally, I was a grown man and I hadn't seen them. And I gotta say, now that this is over, now this charade is over, I think Freddy versus Jason is both my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th movie.
I kind of agree. Like, this is if you were like
you're crazy.
If I had to watch one the most, I mean, maybe just the original Nightmare I might take, but after that it'd be Freddy versus Jason. I mean, it's so over the top. That's exactly what you want in this franchise.
Oh wait, I forgot. I love Nightmare on Elm Street 2 a lot. I love that movie's outrageous. It's so weird and out of the blue, and it's an allegory for gay panic. I love it.
That's a good one.
But
Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and 3, Dream Warriors is really good.
3 is very good as well.
But they just get more and more ridiculous as they get deeper into the 80s, and it's so sad.
Well, I like the ridiculous. You look at Friday the 13th 7, where she gets, I think it's the New Blood, where the girl gets ESP and fights Jason. I love that one. That one's, it's so bonkers. But you're talking about an undead zombie in a hockey mask already. Why are we showing restraint?
Yeah, and then for some reason when we found Jason Takes Manhattan not guilty, we love
some reason.
The power creep.
Let's put JD in the hot seat. JD, Jason Takes Manhattan, guilty or not guilty?
I forgot. Probably guilty.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I do remember
Probably.
Fucking right.
Probably.
hating every movie, that was made after like '86, except for New
that-
Nightmare. That was pretty good. That was interesting.
Yeah, that was different. That one's different.
Nightmare seems to keep a higher quality than the way definitely Friday really dips into some low budget, and even Halloween has a few bad entries, but Nightmare seems to stay pretty consistent.
Yeah, and then it's just a matter of, if you like these kind of movies or not, because like they all kind of end up sticking to roughly the same formula.
Yeah.
So JD, what's been keeping you busy, my friend?
We're writing, me and Hollywood Steve and David Lyons, who played Coco in Yacht Rock, we're writing the ultimate Yacht Rock book. We're telling the story of how the genre came about, how the sound came about in the LA session scene, and the dudes and ladies who made it. It's a big undertaking, but hopefully we'll get that done by the fall. It'll be out next summer or a little bit later. I don't know.
Yeah, super excited for that. I absolutely love Yacht Rock. Your podcast, Beyond Yacht Rock, the original YouTube videos. I mean, those things are just genius. What's one of the most interesting facts you think you've learned while doing all this research for your book?
Oh my God, there's so much. Oh, okay. This is my fault. I'll give you guys this tidbit. So when Toto, the first time they were played in front of an audience, of course, a lot of them had played before because most of them were in Boz Scaggs' touring band. This is the first time Toto as Toto played in front of an audience. And they made these outrageous costumes to wear because they thought they should have a band costume, and they were these silk kimonos with long sleeves. And they're going to make such a big splash. And then they also, David Paich and Steve Porcaro developed this rudimentary keytar, this early keytar. Like, I think Edgar Winter had played a keyboard strapped to himself, but it never had a neck before. So they invented this sweet thing, and they called it the Totar. and then so they go to play the show, and it was a show in front of Columbia Records executives. It wasn't like a real audience, but still it was high stakes because they had to prove they could be a band. And they go to play the Totar, and the sleeve from the kimono just got in the way. They couldn't. Lukather, the guitar player, was trying to play guitar. He couldn't do it because the kimono. It was just a big disaster. And I think that's one of my favorite stories to come out of the research.
Oh man, that's awesome! I saw Toto. They did that 40 Years Around the Sun tour. They came by me. That was a good show. And that's actually what I was referencing when I talked about guitarists noodling for an extra 15 minutes because he just did not stop playing. It was so funny.
Oh, it's Steve Lukather. You didn't say Steve Lukather. No, that's something I would love to watch.
Yeah, no, it was great, but it was not quite what you were expecting. It's just it's not really a jam song, but go for it, Steve.
Now, Toto is yacht rock, right?
They have yacht rock songs. You can't look at a band and say this band is yacht rock or this band isn't. Yacht rock is judged on a song-by-song basis.
Okay.
Okay,
so then the stuff from Dune is yacht.
That's right. Toto 4 is full of yacht rock, although it's not all yacht rock, but there's some real classics on Toto 4.
I hate to ask this, but talk to me like I'm an idiot for a minute here, JD. What the hell is yacht rock?
So yacht rock is smooth pop music that was created mostly from 1976 and 1984. That's heavily influenced by jazz and R&B, and was produced mostly by the elite studio musicians of the LA session scene of that time.
Give me an example.
So, Toto, songs Rosanna, Africa, wonderful early 80s yacht rock songs. They were some of the biggest studio musicians in Los Angeles. And Jeff Porcaro, their drummer, drummed on everything. And he brought a level of sophistication to any record that he played on. But if you want to talk, or if you're asking for more examples of songs, then we're talking What a Fool Believes. We're talking Kenny Loggins' early stuff before he became the Rockin' Soundtrack King. There's even
no Slayer is what we're saying.
No Slayer. And we're also not looking for, acoustic guitar heavy kind of campfire ditty roots and country inspired stuff.
Not folky.
Not folky. No Eagles. Eagles are not yacht rock.
No America.
Is this music to listen to on a yacht?
I'll tell you something. The music is well crafted, and aside from the nautical imagery of the day, that's where the name comes from. So when you're on a yacht, you want the best of everything: the best champagne, the best sweater tied around your neck, the best music, and yacht rock is going to be the best music for that boat trip.
That's good. So Willie Nelson and Slayer, you're not invited to the yacht.
No.
You can go to hell.
Well, it's important to know, Maynard, just because something is not yacht rock, sometimes, and JD, you could probably speak to this better, people say yacht rock or not, or, yacht. And like,
I believe it's yacht.
Yeah, it's like as substitutes for good or bad. And just because something is yacht doesn't mean it's bad. Like Fleetwood Mac is yacht, but they're great,
Oh, I love Fleetwood Mac so much. They're just not a yacht rock band. They have their own sound, and it doesn't mesh with the stuff that the Doobies and Christopher Cross were doing. It's just a different kind of music. It's their own sound.
I'm surprised that Fleetwood Mac wouldn't have, something off of Rumors that would make the criteria.
Yeah, we listen hard, man. We listen to those albums hard because they should. They really shouldn't. But totally Fleetwood Mac is just their own thing. They're a little more experimental. They're a little more roots and country inspired. Stevie Nicks is on the boat with her duet with Kenny Loggins, Whenever I Call You Friend. So there's that.
Oh, nice. She's on the boat. That's another way to say yacht? She's on the boat.
Yeah, that's kind of a shorthand.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. I'm gonna use that.
Okay, so JD, thank you for kind of elucidating broadly what yacht rock is, and so you know because you're the guy who invented it, and so when you put this idea of yacht rock out there, we see it now get used and abused over the years. And how does it feel when you see it in these other contexts? So how are you feeling about the legacy of yacht rock today?
I'm actually feeling better and better about it. I mean, the most popular things that call themselves yacht rock are the Sirius XM channel, which is garbage. You're being sold a bill of goods there. If you want to listen to a yacht rock channel on Sirius, listen to The Bridge. It's way closer than their yacht rock channel is. But it seems like there's this army of firekeepers is growing. People who believe in true yacht rock and defend it. Like you'll see some, a random celebrity go, "I love yacht rock songs. The Police, Every Breath You Take is a great yacht rock song." And then when you look at the comments on Twitter, it's all people who listen to our podcast and people who pay attention to what yacht rock really is going, not a yacht rock song. Here's a link to their playlist. Here's the Yacht or Yacht webpage. It's pretty awesome. So I feel like the truth is getting out there about what yacht rock really is, and it really has to be because it's starting to lose all meaning.
And where do we go from here? What are the next genres and subgenres that you and your friends are going to start pioneering?
Oh, well, you got to listen to our old podcast, Beyond Yacht Rock. That's all we did. 100 episodes, almost all making up new genres.
I think I speak for all fans of the podcast when we say Camaro Summer is the best new genre.
Yeah, when you find a genre that just fits and is real and has criteria that it always meets, that's a thrill. And Camaro Summer is one of those. It's that hard rock music from the late 70s and early 80s. Actually, it's so perfect that this music was actually popular during the years when the Camaro overtook the Ford Mustang as the number one muscle car in the United States. So,
that's cool.
It's songs about, it's the 5 pillars of American freedom. And let me see if I could bring them up. It's cars, weekends, nights, rock and roll. Maybe there's something else.
Was it like girls
drugs?
Or beaches or something?
Could be drugs.
No, not girls, because every rock and roll song is about
That's
girls.
That's true.
And it wasn't drugs. And it wasn't drugs. Yeah. It was the cars, rock and roll, weekends, nights, and summer. That's it. The 5 pillars of American freedom. Yeah. So those songs about that. It's hard rock Rock Summer in the U.S. This is an obscure one. Hard Rock Summer in the USA by Alice Cooper from Friday the 13th movies. Makes sense for this episode. What else is a good one? Summer Nights by Van Halen. And it's all music that's like feels really positive. Anyway, this is about yacht rock, so.
Yeah, but that's just, it's neat that you guys continued the tradition. You know, and speaking of like continuing, is there ever going to be more episodes of you guys, like Hollywood Steve hosting and you dressing up as Michael McDonald and Hunter being Kenny Loggins and maybe the Ghost of Coco played by David Lyons making a comeback? Are we ever going to see you guys in front of the camera again?
There's no telling. I don't want to say never. I mean, our lifestyles are very different. It's hard to put that kind of work into that kind of stuff when you're guys in your 40s who have very serious jobs and in my case, a family. But never say never. We did get a chance to try to attempt Hollywood yacht rock. And it's a pilot that I put on my YouTube called Ricky Dick's Rock Docs, where we told the story of Giorgio Moroder creating the world's first ever electronic music hit with I Feel Loved by Donna Summer. And we got Jack Black to play Giorgio Moroder. Maya Rudolph played Donna Summer. Randall Park played Giorgio Moroder's robot. And Ryan Phillippe played David Bowie. And I think it's really fun and good. It just didn't get us a show like we had hoped. But it does have that yacht rock feel. So if anybody needs more yacht rock and haven't seen that yet, that's pretty cool. Ricky Dick's Rock Docs, it's called.
Yeah. Is it on YouTube or your site?
It's on my YouTube, JD Ryznar.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah, and you can get all the original Yacht Rock episodes on there as well. And another question I have for you, JD, is so we have the Yacht Pocket, as you call it, right? Those years where Yacht Rock was the thing.
Well, Yacht Pocket's actually the tempo at which Yacht Rock works best. But
okay.
There's also a pocket of time where yacht rock was popular.
No. I could just look like an idiot, and I thought I could flex on knowing what the Yacht Pocket was, but I'm a poser.
You're out of your depth, Flynn.
I'm out of my depth. I'm off the boat. I was thinking though, JD, is like you guys have done such a great job getting all these yacht rock songs rated on the yacht ski scale. But there is a finite number of songs that came out there. Do you think we're going to find another hidden gem, kind of like in the vein of Nothing You Can Do About It, one of the first ones you guys mentioned on the show? Like, do we think there's another real like yacht rock jam out there that hasn't been discovered or exposed as much as it should be?
Oh, for sure. We just scratched the surface. Mm-hmm. Like,
nice.
I have a whole, a relatively tiny folder. It still has hours and hours and hours of music on it, of music that may be yacht rock that we still have to yacht ski and get on the playlist. We're discovering new stuff all the time.
Yeah, this is like amphibians in the rainforest.
Yeah, right? I don't it's hard. It's difficult to comprehend how much major label music was released in those days, but it was a lot, and a ton of it flew under the radar. And there's just like deep cuts on famous albums that we're finding. They're like, holy crap, listen to this. So there's so much to still come out. And this playlist is going to double, triple in size once we're all done with this project.
Is there any ability to create new yacht rock, or is it entirely temporal based?
No, people are making it now.
So we're getting new yacht rock.
Oh yeah. I think the first guys to do it well was a Canadian band called Monkey House. They started in the early 90s. And then a group that was two guys named, the group was called Samuel Purdy. They came out with an album in 1999 that is spot on. They got Steely Dan's engineer to produce it. And then there's a group called State Cows out of Sweden. There's this really great yacht rock producer named Jay Graydon, and this is actually the son of his assistant. His assistant is this woman in Sweden. And her son has this band called State Cows that does perfect like yacht rock, also known as West Coast. They call it West Coast, their music. And then finally, the other band that's really good now is Young Gun Silver Fox. It's two dudes. One's an American, but he lives in London. Two English dudes. Just 3 or 4 albums, just like so much of it is so on the boat. So people, but the problem is none of them know each other. Like we've been interviewing them for the book we're writing, and none of them are like networked. So there's not like a scene now. There's just random fans of the sound that are recreating it. So that's
awesome.
sort of what has to happen for it to work again. Is these guys need to get together and form a community.
And JD, something I was thinking about, like you guys really, to the extent that everyone knows who Jay Graydon is today, it's 100% because of you guys, right? Jay Poopin Graydon, right? So...
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, more people know about him because of us, but
yeah,
he's famous in the circles of anybody who loves West Coast music, and he's huge in Japan and in Sweden. He's a big star in some places, but I discovered him through the podcast, and I'm happy that other people are too. He's the one, if you don't know, that does the guitar solo on Steely Dan's Peg, for those in your audience that don't know. A really good guitar solo.
Yeah, he's a super talented guy. Now, in your book, is there like another kind of Graydon-esque character that you'll be kind of like reintroducing to the world that you think he's gonna that will take off in your book?
No, not necessarily. What we found is the main drivers of the sound are the ones that we figured they were. It's David Foster, Jay Graydon, Michael O'Mardian, who worked with Steely Dan and went on to produce Christopher Cross, Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald, Steely Dan themselves, and the guys in Toto. These were the guys that were driving the sound, and they were all like incredible musicians, jazz, gospel, R&B trained, and just brought that all into pop music. Jay Graydon liked to say, we were getting away with murder, man. We were fitting hip chord changes into pop songs, man. There's these music nerds like geeking out and getting #1 hits. So that's pretty cool.
It's awesome. I'm so excited for the book. I'm excited for whatever you guys do next because it's always brilliant,
Thank you so much.
So now we always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies that you think people should see. And since we're doing Hell on Reels, we're looking for recommendations of a horror movie or scary movie that you think people should check out. So what is a movie that people should check out?
I don't watch a lot of horror, but one movie that's always stuck with me, I think it's the original Let Me In. Is that what it's called? About a child.
Let the Right One In.
Let the Right One In. Yeah, with the child vampire, the Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Man, that one is just creepy and good. And it's like,
have they remade that, Ryan?
Yeah, they made it Let Me In with Chloe Grace Moretz. I think they made it like 2 years after.
Oh,
that Matt Reeves directed, which I still haven't seen, but I do want to see it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've only ever seen the original one too. No, that is a really good vampire movie, in which and it's so hard to find good vampire movies that aren't kind of cheesy too,
or that don't scare Jeremy.
Moments ever where she's sitting at the bottom of the pool and you see the decapitated head fall into the pool. Oh, so good.
Oh, that's definitely a good recommendation. What's your favorite thing about it, JD?
I just like the sweaters.
I was really focused on the sweaters.
Yeah, people's sweaters. I just really want to be in Norwegia, Scandinavia, wherever that was made. The darkness, the warmth of, it just felt like another awesome world with something really, really creepy going on. Sometimes it's just the tone and feel of a movie that can draw me in.
Yeah, the lighting in that movie is particularly striking.
I think so.
That's what I remember it being like really dark, and then there'd be red and some other Norwegian colors in there. But I'm glad that it hits high on the sweater scale too.
Oh man, the sweaters.
The sweater scale.
Yeah. Hey, sweater is better. That's what the
Cardigan Review.
Nobody says that.
Dylan, you were the other counselor. So what is your recommendation?
All right, I'm actually going to recommend a Friday the 13th fan film that came out in 2017. It's called Never Hike Alone. You can watch this on YouTube right now for free. And it's about a hiker who's also like a vlogger, Instagram kind of guy, right? So he goes through hikes alone, even though the title says never hike alone. He does it anyway. And he's recording his adventures, and he accidentally stumbles upon Camp Crystal Lake, and he researches it. He goes, oh man, this is like a creepy place where murders happened. And Jason comes out and chases him for the rest of the movie. It's something you've never really seen with Jason, where he's just hunting like one dude, and it's told from that guy's perspective. It's very well done too. I said it's a fan film, but it's incredible production values, and it's really neat to watch. So never hike alone on YouTube.
It's also good advice.
Yeah, that's true too.
But then I won't hike, Maynard. I have no friends. What am I supposed to do?
Get a dog.
Bring your
Get a
cat.
dog, Ben. Get a dog. Let's see. So I guess
Ryan was the judge.
Ryan, you were that very handsome judge. So why don't you tell us your recommendation?
Since I can't think of a single Friday the 13th movie that I enjoy in its entirety, I will recommend either the second or third best Nightmare movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Nice.
It's one of the few movies in the series to deal with trauma on like a palpable level and manages to tap into some fantasy elements without contradicting like the grounded nature of the original or reducing the series to the level of a perfunctory slasher movie. And it's currently streaming on Peacock.
Ooh, the Peacock.
It's got an awesome
There's
closing soundtrack.
Yeah, there's not much
the
on
Dawkins
Peacock.
song, hell yeah.
So that's a good reason to watch it. I don't think I've seen Dream Warriors. I need to, though.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's usually considered the best. Like my mother always used to say, when you boys are old enough, that's gonna be like the first rated R movie you watch. You know, she loves it.
not the first two. You're gonna
No, not the first two. No, went straight to Dream Warriors. That's one of her favorite movies, so she loves
I
it.
don't know. I really liked the first Nightmare on Elm Street. So
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just
That's
Dream
probably my
Warriors.
favorite out of the
Really
franchise.
good.
I'm with you.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, I always think of the original as the best. I mean, everything else is unless it can really invent the wheel well, then it's just imitation after that.
I do need to see a new Nightmare though. It's still on my list.
Mhm.
Good stuff.
We recommended that last year, Ben. What are you doing?
No, but we always have these like stupid movies to watch for this podcast that always get in the way.
Yes.
I'm always like, hey, that sounds like a cool movie to watch. Oh wait, I got to watch Peanut Butter Solution. Hold on, I'll get right on that.
By the way, you
Peanut
need to
butter
watch that again, Ben.
I
Yeah,
know.
Peanut Butter Solution, which we found guilty. I'm just going to throw that out there now. This episode's coming out after that,
No
but who
way.
knows?
We don't know.
We didn't.
We don't know yet. You never know which way Ryan's gonna go.
You never know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Big
Big
Ben.
Ben.
Big Ben.
What is your
My
recommendation?
My recommendation is my first not real recommendation, as I rated it 2 stars, but it fits the theme of this movie so well. I'm going with Sadako versus Kayako, more colloquially known as The Ring versus The Grudge. And if you haven't seen the sequels to Ringu or Ju-on, don't worry, because it seems to ignore most of what's been established before it. The tape kills people in 2 days now rather than 7, for example. The ending is a bit nuts. I did not see it coming, but like Freddy versus Jason, it does successfully combine these two concepts together in one universe, and you're liable to remember it for years. Like, dude, remember that time we saw the Ring Girl fight the Grudge Girl? Yeah, that was a thing that happened. Good times, good times.
I would have to double check. I feel like you recommended this one last Halloween as well.
No, we talked
No,
about it. It was
we
never
talked
recommended.
about it. Not recommended.
Okay. Sneaky. I knew we've talked about it because I knew there was a movie where the Ring Girl fights the Grudge Girl. I haven't been able to find it yet, though. I have looked.
Oh, I had
Ringy versus
it was a
Judgy.
hunt.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to continue to plunge the darkest depths of the internet, and perhaps I'll be able to fish it up. So my
Jesus.
recommendation this week, or heck-amendation, as we call them
right.
when we do Hell on Reels. I was going to see if anyone remembered, but you don't.
Nope. Definitely
Is
didn't.
I know you don't. 2006's Hatchet. If you like slasher
that's
films, you're going to love Hatchet. It's gory, sloppy, bloody, messy, innovative, over-the-top, violent kills. And the best part, especially for you, Ben, because you complained about the CGI today, the best part is succeeds in doing this entirely with practical effects, makeup, prosthetics, in-camera effects. As the poster says, it's old-school American horror in the best of ways. The murderous maniac at the heart of the film, Victor Crowley, is portrayed by Kane Hodder, who, as we discussed earlier, is well known for playing Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
And
It
for being
also-
very short.
For being very short.
He's very short at 6'2", the poor midget. It also features cameos from Nightmare on Elm Street's Robert Englund. Is that right?
England.
Thank you.
England.
And Candyman's Tony Todd, who's
Nice.
very funny in it. So really, if Kane Hodder is your Jason to you, this is really the movie that has Freddy and Jason in it. Hatchet is currently streaming on Tubi.
All right.
Yeah, no, pretty cool. I don't know if JD's seen any of those movies, but you should check them out this Halloween season. It'll keep you busy.
I will. I'll watch all of them. I'll renew my Tubi. I'll renew my Tubi.
That's a verbal contract.
Yeah. Tubi's free anyway.
Well, I'll renew it anyway.
Anyway, as we start to wind things down here, we'd like to remind our listeners that if you leave us an iTunes review and send us a screenshot of it on either Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook with the hashtag ROJ-Reviews, you'll be entered into an upcoming raffle for some pretty cool Reels of Justice swag. So, do it.
Hope you like logos.
Can I enter?
We got them.
Logos on everything. And with that, we're all out of show for the week, but we'd like to thank our guest, JD Ryznar, for joining us. Thank you, JD. We'd love to have you back sometime soon.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun, and I'll always come on Reels of Justice as unprepared as I was today.
Please do.
You did great. It was
But
a blast,
I did watch the movie.
You're the first one to bribe.
It's a good thing to admit when the episode's over. I did watch it.
Yeah, no, that's the most important thing is to at least you watch the movie, and if you can come and just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. I mean, you got it done. You won.
I did win,
so
that's a good thing.
There you go.
I like coming on a podcast
exactly.
where I win.
Yes, we like running podcasts and forcing competition on people. We really like that, and we'll keep an eye out for your book that you said should be out this fall. Probably
No.
Next
We'll
fall.
be done writing it this fall. Maybe if we are, then it'll be out in the summer. We'll see when all that happens, though.
Next summer, there's another summer coming. All right, cool. Well, we'll have you back then when it actually is
Sweet.
out. And if you need a blurb for the book, I know just the
Host of
guy.
Reels of Justice.
He's the sole host of this podcast.
Yes, and he gets blurbed on every book.
We'll do a very special Reels of Justice called Pages of Justice, where I make all you guys read the entire long ass book, and then you have to prosecute it or defend it.
Dude, I literally can't wait to read it.
But
though.
I would do
it's
that.
gonna be great.
Yeah, no, we will do that, but we're gonna read the book, but we will come unprepared. Otherwise.
Okay, good. There.
I read the Cliffs Notes. Does that count?
I hope it's big enough to make Cliff's Notes. Then
But we're gonna
I'll
read
be calling you guys next from my mansion.
I'm gonna be eating a Cliff Bar. So, and with that, we hope everyone will join us again next time as the Reels of Justice keep turning.
Count it.
Logos.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.